Shabbat Shalom, everyone. If you take your... Oh, so something's wrong with the sound here, the reverb. Can you hear me now? Yeah. Shabbat Shalom, everyone.
Shabbat Shalom.
It's the last Shabbat of 2022. So let's turn to somebody around us and wish them Shabbat Shalom and happy 2023. Happy New Year. So I want to remind you to turn off your phones or turn them to mute if you haven't done that. I was looking at the New York Times, and you know, every year at this time of year they say, you know, the last year in photos or in pictures. And every single picture was sad or of bad news or something. This has not been a great year. So not now, but I'm going to ask you in a little while, what was a great year for you? If 2022 wasn't a great year, I know I have a great year. I have a fabulous year. I bet you have one, Cantor. I have a great year. So think about it, and I'm going to ask you in a little while, what year was a great year for you? But first, we're so happy to be together. We're going to start on page 10 with Hine Matov. Okay. How about that?
That's fine.
Page 10, Hine Matov Umanayim. How lovely for us to be together tonight.
הנה מה טוב ומנעים שבת אחים גם יחד. 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 How good it is, how sweet it is to be together on this day. How good it is, how sweet it is to be together on this day. הנה מה טוב ומנעים שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומנעים שבת אחים גם יחד.
I'm now going to invite two of my adult Benot Mitzvah students to come up and light the candles. Michelle Swag and Fonda Morgan, please come up here. They're both studying right now to become bat mitzvah. And they're going to be reading Torah, and you're all invited on Saturday, April 8th to hear them.
And you can join us in the blessing on page 2. Let's invite that light in.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu להדליק נר של שבת.
We continue by inviting the Shabbat bride into our midst with Lecha Dodi on page 20.
Lecha שמור וזכור בדיבור אחד, השמיענו אל המיוחד, אדוני אחד ושמו אחד, לשם ולתפארת ולתהילה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לקראת שבת לכו ונלכה, כי היא מקור הברכה, מראש מקדם נסוכה, סוף מעשה במחשבה, תחילו. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. התעוררי, התעוררי, כי באורך קומי אורי, אורי אורי שיר דברי, כבוד אדוני עלייך נגלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה.
We rise and face the back to welcome the Shabbat bride.
בואי ושלום עטרת בעלה, גם בשמחה ובצהלה, תוך אמוני עם סגולה. בואי חלה, בואי חלה, לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה.
Please be seated. So the best year of my life was 1968-69. I went to Israel for a year, and I look back and I realize when I went there, Israel was only 20 years old as a country. Didn't even cross my mind then. It took 5 years to get a car, 3 years to get a telephone. People did their laundry in their bathtub. There were no washing machines. And if you went to the supermarket, there were like 3 kinds of cereal: puffed wheat, puffed rice, and puffed corn. That was it. And I had the best time of my life. I loved it. Life was so simple and so beautiful. It was right after the 6-Day War, and everybody was on a high. They were so happy. There was wonderful music. Everybody felt like a big family. It was a beautiful year for me. And all these years later, I still remember that year more than I remember last week. So now I'm curious, do you have a year that really just changed you or that you love? It was a wonderful year. Yeah. Okay, Donna?
Most young ladies are going to say their wedding day. The day I met Moshe at the shul, that was in 1981.
She got married when she met her husband. Yes.
I converted this year.
This year was your best year. Fonda converted this year, and this was her best year. Wow. Well, it's our best year to have you. Who else? Yes.
2022, because we adopted our son, we signed papers to adopt our little daughter who's been coming, both kids have been coming to the shul since they were little tiny infants. And my wife and I celebrated our 8th year together as a couple.
Beautiful. That's when they adopted their children, his son and his daughter, they signed the papers. Who else had a great year, a memorable year?
We were on sabbatical in Israel in '02, and it was transformative, changed our lives.
Do you want to say why?
We just did so much. There was no pressure on us. There was no work that was assigned. We did whatever we wanted. I studied Hebrew. Stanley studied Hebrew poetry. We just were alone and having a ball.
And we made a decision what we were going to do at retirement, that is to say, make Aliyah. It absolutely turned our world around.
You're going to make Aliyah? We did. You made Aliyah? Yeah. But you're here.
I'm before.
Oh, you lived there for 12 years, and then you came back. Then you... Very interesting. I did not know that. Okay, yes. Welcome back. We're lucky that you came back.
So 2020, during the pandemic, because I did a big reshift and got to stay home with my kids, and it just like reshifted my whole life. Yeah.
Raise your hand for her. Oh, there's the shift, huh? Eddie, Cantor, do you have one?
You know, it's so funny when you said, Cantor, I'm sure you have one. It's so hard for me because there are too many. I feel so blessed. I have had an incredibly full life for someone of my years, and every year has just so many blessings to offer that it's hard to choose one.
Okay. I have to add 1994 when I adopted my daughter. That was another great year. And 2013 when I became a rabbi. Those were great years for me. Anyone else? Anyone else? One more? Anybody have a good year? Yes. I was looking right at her. She had to raise her hand.
2023, because it's going to be fabulous.
I love that. It's a perfect ending. Please turn to page 28 and rise for the Baruch Hu.
Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach Baruch Adonai HaMevorach HaMevorach Le'olam va'ed HaMevorach HaMevorach Le'olam va'ed.
Please remain standing as take my glasses off and read with me on page 30 in English. Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, ruler of the universe, who speaks the evening into being, skillfully opens the gates, thoughtfully alters the time and changes the seasons, and arranges the stars in their heavenly courses according to plan. You are creator of day and night, rolling light away from darkness and darkness from light, transforming day into night and distinguishing one from the other. Adonai Tzvaot is your name. Ever-living God, may you reign continually over us into eternity. Blessed are you, Adonai, who brings on evening.
Baruch atah Adonai Ha'ma'ari v'aravi.
Amen. We continue on 32 with Ahavat Olam.
תורה ומצוות, חוקים ומשפטים, אותנו לימדת. על כן אדוני אלוהינו בשוכבנו ובקומנו נשיח בחוקיך. על כן אדוני אלוהינו בשוכבנו ובקומנו נשיח בחוקיך. ונשמח בדברי תורתך ומצוותיך לעולם ועד. כי הם חיינו ואורך ימינו ובהם נגע יומם בלילה. כי הם חיינו ואורך ימינו ובהם נגע יומם בלילה. כי הם חיינו ואורך ימינו ובהם נגע יומם בלילה. כי הם חיינו ואורך ימינו ובהם נגע יומם בלילה. בעבודך אל תסיר ממנו לעולמים. ברוך אתה אדוני אוהב עמו ישראל. שמע ישראל, אדוני אלוהינו, אדוני אחד. ברוך שם כבוד מלכותו לעולם ועד.
We continue on page 36 with the Via Hafta, which we don't have it today, but a lot of times we have a bar bat mitzvah student here, and you really feel the words then when it says, and you shall teach your children diligently. I don't know if you know this, but the rabbis in the Talmud said that we must provide our children with an education. Well, it was sons in those years, but we say children now. And the first public schools for children, because they realized that parents, the fathers, didn't have time because they were working, was 50 BCE. That's when the first Jewish schools were established. And in the next century, the Jewish people were the most literate in the world. They spoke, all their children could read. They even know they could read before then, but we look at education not as a tradition, not as a suggestion, but it's a commandment. And that's what this Via Hafta is about, which we're about to chant on page 36.
And Rabbi Nanus, can I just share with the group that I just came back from Israel on Wednesday, and on Monday I was standing with 11 Wilshire Boulevard Temple young people as they celebrated becoming bar and bat mitzvah in Israel. So talk about these words right here coming to life right in front of our eyes. So it's okay that we don't have any here tonight because we had a bunch of them earlier this week. So please join us.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך. והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך וקשרתם להות על ידיך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
Let's read it in English on the bottom. You shall love Adonai your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your might. Take to heart these instructions which I charge you this day. Impress them upon your children. Recite them when you stay at home and when you are away, when you lie down and when you get up. Bind them as a sign on your hand and let them serve as a symbol on your forehead. Inscribe them on the doorposts of your house and on your gates. Thus you shall remember to observe all my commandments and to be holy to your God. I am Adonai your God, who brought you out of the land of Egypt to be your God. I am Adonai your God.
Adonai Elohechem Emet.
So I just have to tell you a funny story. A week ago, I was out with a new congregant. We went out to lunch. We went to this place called the Butcher's Daughter, which is a vegetarian mainly. We were sitting outside. It was during Hanukkah, and this nudnik, Chabad kid, comes by and he says, "Did you rap? Did you rap? Are you going to rap? Do you want to put on tefillin? Did you rap? Did you rap?" And the man I was with was so taken aback that he said, "Well," and he says, "Come on, let's do it." And he pulls out a kippah and he puts it on his head. He pulls out his arm and he wraps tefillin on him, just like it says, "Bind it on your hand." So I said, "You know, I'm a rabbi." He said, "Really?" I said, "Can I rap?" "No." I said, "Why?" And he went, "I don't know." He didn't know why. It's above my pay grade. But you can say the brachas. So this guy and this elegant Melrose terrace put on tefillin, fulfilled the mitzvah, and we said the blessings together, and then he gave us a menorah with candles. So, and the guy actually kind of felt good about it. It was interesting. I don't know that he'd done it like since his bar mitzvah or something, and he was around 60. So you never know, but he was going down the street asking people if they would put on tefillin, and he got a taker. So I thought that was a funny story, especially when I said, "Why?" And he said, "I don't know." Just know you can't. So I know, but I wasn't going to tell him. So we continue now on page 40 with the Micha Mocha, which really, we talk about crossing the sea. We also know it as Egypt is the narrow places, and crossing the sea was pretty narrow too. And so we're not going to share it, but I want you to think about what narrow place you want to cross away from in the coming year as we sing the Micha Mocha, page 40.
Micha Mocha Bailim Adonai Micha Mocha Nedar Bakodesh Nora Tehilot Oseh Bele Nora Tehilot, Oseh, Fele, Malchutecha, Ra'u banecha, Bokeh Moshe Miriam Ze'elianu ve'ameru Adonai Adonai Yimloch Yimloch Le'olam Le'olam Va'ed Adonai Adonai Yimloch Yimloch Le'olam Le'olam Va'ed כי פדה אדוני את יעקב וגאלו מיד חזק ממנו ברוך אתה אדוני גאל ישראל.
Please turn to page 46 and rise for the Amidah. This is our most ancient prayer, our first prayer, and the prayer where we get to ask God for the blessings that we need. Page 46.
Adonai sifatai tiftach ufi yagid tehilatecha Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu ve'Elohei avotenu ve'imoteinu Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka Elohei Rachel ve'Elohei Leah Ha'el hagadol hagibor ve'hanora El Elyon גומל חסדים טובים וקונה הכל וזוכר חסדי אבות ואימהות ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם למען שמו באהבה מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן ברוך אתה אדוני מגן אברהם ועזרת שרה אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני מחיי הכל אתה רב להושיע משיב הרוח ומוריד הגשם מחכה חיים בחסד מחיי הכל ברחמים רבים צומח נופלים ורופא חולים ומתיר אסורים ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר מי כמוך בגבורות ומדום מלך מלך ממית ומחיה ומצמיח ישועה ונאמן אתה להחיות הכל ברוך אתה אדוני מחיה הכל.
We continue silently with the beautiful words of our Siddur or our own personal prayers. When the ark is closed, you may be seated. We take a moment now to remember those in our lives who need a blessing for healing. Physical healing, spiritual healing, emotional healing. We're going to be saying the Misha Berach. So if there's someone in your life that you would like to have blessed, please stand up now. And when I come to you, say their names out loud.
Ravella Dunner.
Edith Bartnoff.
Jean Bluestein and Michael Shaw.
Karen and Sarah, Judy Pulver, Paulette Hawkins.
My father, Avraham Arya Zigelman, who passed away the last week of the 20th century.
Megan Firestone.
Schwab and Roz and Sandy Weissman.
Maria Teresa Gonzalez.
Giselle Hartman.
Yasla and George, Kat, David, Marcus, and Jackie, and Mikey, and Miguel.
Minu, Katia, John, Mehran, Sully, and Farah. Thank you.
Pakelny. Audrey Pakelny.
And I have some names for those people at home that I would like to read. Nicole Alkov, Emily Blau, Jacob Friedman, Merlot Gadushi, Levi Jonathan, James Klein, Cindy Lederer, Michael Levy, Ronald Lanicki, Philip Marber, Annette Pansky, Trevor Sangster, Charles Schwartz, Karen Shanbrum, Alan Soroti, and Stacy Warnick. I'm going to see. Is it page 2? No. Okay. Special Misha Berach by Craig Taubman that the Cantor will sing now.
Misha Berach Avoteinu Avraham Yitzchak veYaakov Sarah Rivka Rachel Leah Hu Yivarech veYirapeh et hacholim. So, that being said, that 2022 was supposedly a terrible year, I thought to myself, really? The whole year, all over the world, nothing good happened? That can't be so. That just can't be so. So I did a little research,
And I want to share with you some good things that happened in 2022. So one of them just happened last week. I don't know if you read about it. It was in Buffalo, New York during the terrible blizzard. And there was this young couple, well, young to me, they were 40, and they had stocked up really well because they were from Buffalo and they knew, oh God, we're not going to leave the house. Meanwhile, this tourist bus of 9 people from Korea decide they're going to go see Niagara Falls. And they got stuck right near their house, completely snowed in, and they didn't know what to do. And so one of them came to the door and they said, could you call someone? Could you tell us what to do? And the couple ended up inviting all 9 people into their house. They slept there for 2 days. They fed them, and they spent the whole blizzard together. Total strangers, invited them into their house, and this was kind of a hipster couple who had a lot of like Korean condiments, so the Korean women cooked these Korean feasts for everybody, and it was just a beautiful mitzvah. So that happened. That's number one. Now, I don't know if you've heard of Jose Andres and the World Central Kitchen. Jose Andres is a chef who decided that he would heal the world through food. And he goes all over the world and sets up these huge kitchens with volunteers and feeds people who are hungry. And so last week, they served their 100 millionth meal in Ukraine. Ukraine and around Poland, Moldova, and Romania and Slovakia, but mainly in Ukraine, 100 million meals. And even though, we talk about Jose Andres, you can't serve that food without thousands of volunteers. So thousands of people have been feeding Ukrainian refugees since the war began last March, and they've fed 100 million, they created 100 million meals. I thought that was so inspiring. Now this is a nature thing that I just thought was so fantastic. Turns out that humpback whales have a song that they sing when they travel the oceans. And scientists have found that humpback whales in one hemisphere were singing the same song as humpback whales in the other hemisphere, like 2 sides of the world, because they're communicating, they're hearing each other's music, and they're picking it up and singing it. It's some kind of, song that is maybe a mating call, and they said it's like you hear one, and then you hear another, and then you hear like a variation. They're actually improvising and incorporating their music. So these mammals, these massive mammals, are communicating through a kind of music, which I think is so beautiful, and it made me, we really don't understand the complexity of animals, mammals in particular, but they're so much more prescient and cognizant and aware. So I thought that was really beautiful that they found out. Now, the Jewish good news. President Biden, I'm going to just get it right, because I want to tell you it right. At the Hanukkah party at the White House on Monday evening, they unveiled the first menorah to be added to the White House collection. As the White House explained, once an item has been added to the White House collection, it is forever a permanent fixture of the White House archives and cannot be removed from the archives by any future administration. So now there is a menorah, a Chanukiah, in the White House as a permanent part of their collection. The White House never had its own menorah until this year. And also, apparently, there's a huge menorah now called the National Menorah that was on the mall next to the Christmas tree in front of the White House. And then who lit the candles for the menorah in the White House was a Holocaust survivor. Who else? Some very interesting people. A Holocaust survivor and the grandson of Abraham Joshua Heschel were among those who lit it. Now, on top of that, when they also lit candles when President Zelensky of the Ukraine was there. And President Biden, you know, I thought it was interesting. Our former president had dinner with an anti-Semite and a Holocaust denier, and our current president lit candles with the Jewish president of the Ukraine, and he talked about how, he talked about how the Maccabees, the fighting of the Maccabees, was sort of like a role model or a symbol for the Ukrainian people, the small Maccabees fighting against the greater foe. And he said, just like President Zelensky is lighting candles, and we hope that we will bring the light of peace. So he connected Zelensky and the Maccabees in the White House by our president. So I think, and finally, this year, I think you know this, but I just want to remind us that on May 22nd of this year, Deborah Lipstadt was appointed the U.S. Special Envoy for monitoring and combating anti-Semitism. So this is really, even though we're besieged by all this anti-Semitic things, incidents and whatever, it's so different from Germany and the 30s. Our government, our president, a special envoy, there's much more to be hopeful for than there was at that time. And we're all hoping that this coming year, 2023, will bring more peace, more reconciliation, more hope, more love, more understanding. And let's all say, Amen. So just a couple announcements before we conclude our service. And I'm going to invite in a minute, after our Kaddish, Rick Frankel to come up and do the Kiddush and do the Motzi. Now, Rick Frankel has been coming here, how many years? 34 years. And this is the first time, because of his own diligence and taking care of himself, he's not on a cane, if you notice. He looks fantastic, and we're so proud of him. Can I tell them how much weight you lost? 122 pounds. He looks fabulous. And so I want to honor him because he said when he was here at the high holidays, he couldn't walk up the steps, and now he can walk, so I'm going to invite you in a minute. Exactly. It's really great. Just to remind you, I think you know, but we're promoting it all over the place, that January 13th here will be Martin Luther King Shabbat with Dr. Diane White Clayton, singing amazing, beautiful songs. And on Sunday, the 15th at 9:30 a.m., Wilshire Boulevard Temple's going to church. We're going to honor Martin Luther King by going as a congregation to Faithful Central Bible Church. That's our sister church. We haven't been there in 3 years. I'm sorry, what's your question? It's been 3 years since, yes. And we know them, we love them, and they have a huge gospel choir, if you've never gone, like 50 singers, I would say. And it's very lively, and they have a couple thousand people there at 9:30, and we're going to be guests there, so we hope you'll sign up and join us. Anything else? No. So now we turn to thoughts of memory as we prepare for Kaddish. It's our tradition that if you are observing the first 30 days or a yortzeit, to please stand now. If you're observing a yortzeit or first 30 days. We begin by remembering those who've passed away during Shloshim during the past 30 days. Seymour Cantor, Rocio Delgadillo, Charles Dogener, Roger Ensign, Manly Burton Feinstein, Linda Friedman, Sean Gose, Dorothy Koenig, Ezra Cohn, Stanley Stogel. We also remember those whose anniversaries of their deaths, their yortzeits, occurred during this past week. Annette Abrams, Jack Adelstein, Abram Adler, Sheldon Andelson, Marilyn August, Jackie Banchik, Leonard Baum, Lena Baser, Isidore Bendit, Matthew Burke, Sonia Burson, Rayfreda Brown, Louise Brownell, Richard Cacciato, Bobby Clare, James Clark, Eva Coden, William Cohen, Sam Cohen, Alfred Coleman, Karen Copland, Ann Cuttrow, Arnold Dauber, Stuart Davis, Sarah Davis, Susan Disner, Irene Rose Dunner, Melvin Edelstein, Alon Eliashar, Michael Raymond Fyeth, Sidney Feldman, Vivian Fern, Ronnie Fink, Bernice Fisher, Sophia Fleischer, Henrietta Fleischer, Philip David Foreman, Flora Fox, Alan Frank, Benjamin Franklin, Ben Freeman, John Freisleben, Marilyn Friedman, Barry Friedman, Julius Friedman, Harry Gilbert, Guilford Glazer, Joseph Carl Gomberg, Lillian Gottstein, Edith Greenberg, Dora Grossflam, Abraham Grosser, Maluk Halimi, Joseph Robert Hecht, Eugene Hirsch, Irving Hirsch, Isidore Horn, Betty Eisen, Susan Gay Eisenberg, Chava Ish, Rona Jaffe, Stan Kaltman, Ann Koplowitz, Herman Karp, Esther Kressler, Esther Kessler, Barbara Kessler, Lee Klein, Mary Cole, Henrietta Cover, Florence Isabel Colwyn, Fega Kustanovich, Lena Laska, Bertha Catherine Levine, Richard Allen Levine, Rosara Leibson, Rose Levin, Helen Levin, Shirley Hausner Levin, Herman Levitt, Joseph Lipsky, Stan Lipman, Al Mandel, Lillian Margulies, Ruth Marin, Samuel Morgan, Rose Morhar, Selma Moyer, Don Newmark, Dora Nordell, Alan Novak, Joyce Austin, Michael Patterson, Louise Perlman, George Pines, Hortense Pines, David Pragerson, Rose Rowich, John Weiss Riskind, Gertrude Rose, Edith Rosenblum, Nahid Sadfar Sabet, Beth Lauren Shapira, Lottie Seelman, Charles Shirkin, Estelle Silberkleit, Morton Joseph Sobel, Michael Sokol, Louis Stern Jr., Estelle Wax, Jordan Weber, Eva Ruth Weissenberg, Rosalie Woldenberg, Joyce Wolf, Virginia Wolf, Yaakov Ben Yitzchak. Are there any names to add? Thank you. Anyone else? We also remember those who gave their lives defending the United States of America and the State of Israel, those who have died in senseless war, violence, terrorism, and illness, and those who have no one to say Kaddish for them. We take them all as our own as we all rise and turn to page 294. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, v'yalma divrach hirutei v'yamlich malchutei, v'chayechon u'v'yomechon u'v'chayei dechol beit Yisrael, ba'gala v'zman kari v'imru amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevarach leolam ulmei omaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitba'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. V'yitadar, v'yitale, v'yitalal, shmei dekudasha brichu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbachata v'nechamata, damiram v'yoma v'imru amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shamaya, v'chaim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'imramav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, v'imru amen.
Oseh shalom b'imramav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol yoshvei tevel, ve'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'imramav, ועל כל ישראל, ועל כל יושבי תבל, ואמרו Ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 la.
Please remain standing for Kiddush and Motzi. Rick and Cantor, you're going to sing it with him.
I thought you were doing the whole thing.
You know, my father was a cantorial soloist for 25 years.
Wonderful.
And the first time he wasn't there, the rabbi asked me to do Kiddush. He came over and said, "Your father has such a beautiful voice."
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kodsho be'ahava u'v'ratzon הנחילנו זיכרון למעשה בראשית כי הוא יום תחילה למקראי קודש זכר יציאת מצרים כי ואותנו קידשת מכל הימים ושבת קודשך באהבה וברצון הנחלתנו ברוך אתה אדוני מקדש השבת.
Chaim.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz.
Amen.
Shabbat Shalom.